Everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. This week, I want to explore the reasons behind why sometimes good workers make poor decisions. Now, I think we see this, especially in the safety field, where if we do a post-incident investigation, we often find that there was a decision made that was very questionable. And I think when we look at this, we want to kind of understand the reasons behind it. Is it psychology? What is it? What are the reasons that people take risks? And I was reminded of this recently when I was at my gym one afternoon, and at this particular the configuration of this gym is that the weight room is on the second floor, and there's a line of windows and glass along the side of the building to the parking lot below. And amazingly, there are doors, like glass doors, that open out into nothing. And I observed workers who were moving equipment. They were replacing equipment. They were moving new equipment in and old equipment out via a pallet on a forklift with doors open to a 15 to 18-foot fall to asphalt below, and no safety measures in place whatsoever. So I actually addressed it. I brought it up with the club, and I wanted to make sure they understood the risk, and not just the risk to the worker, but the risk to them if something were to happen. Additionally, as I was leaving, I engaged with the crew and I asked if they had fall protection. And when I asked that question, I was amazed to hear that they actually had equipment in their vehicle. I asked them very nicely if they would use it because I would hate to see somebody get hurt. I came out the very next day. They were performing the same activities without any fall protection. Made me scratch my head and wonder why. Why would workers do this? In this case, you're probably looking at somebody making about $30 an hour, and they're risking their life for that $30 per hour job. I mean, why would they do that? It just doesn't make any sense. And I think that there are a number of reasons that kind of lead to good people, good workers potentially choosing bad decisions and taking risks. And I think part of it, there are kind of four main reasons that I explored. One was social pressure. So basically, they're being told not to worry about it. Um, just do your job. We got to get this done. You're not going to get hurt. So basically, they're being encouraged to take risks because they want to get the job done. That's a very, very common theme, and I've seen that many times over the years. The other reason that I think is very prevalent is what we call risk normalization. Now, I've used this example in the past, but when I worked as a union laborer on a very large bridge project, when I first got out the first few days and the crane was flying a skip box, a load over my head, they would honk the horn and I would hear that load and I would look up and I would watch it and I would stay out from underneath it. After a week, maybe 2 weeks, I didn't really hear that horn anymore and I didn't worry about it. And I think that that happens a lot of times with risk is when nothing happens for a period of time, we desensitize to it. And that's a very common theme in workers may be making risky decisions. The third example is trying to impress the supervisor, the foreman, the superintendent, trying to show that that you'll do whatever it takes to get the job done, that you'll hurry, that you're on it, you're production oriented, you think you're going to get brownie points. And this is not uncommon, especially with younger, ambitious workers who are trying to kind of work their way up in the hierarchy. So trying to impress supervisors by driving production, that's a very common reason. And I think the fourth reason, and this is the one that worries me maybe more than the others, is overconfidence. This idea that it's not going to happen to me. Other people get work, other people die on the job. I remember a story from one of the largest general contractors on the planet talking about a carpenter foreman they had who was among the best and safest workers in the organization. And one day he was climbing a giant gang form and he had his double lanyards with his rebar hooks as he was climbing up. He was connecting one, disconnecting the other, climbing to the top. And right as he got to the top, as he was going to connect his rebar hook, he had disconnected the other one for some reason. Somebody said his name and he looked down and lost his attention span for 1 second and fell to his death. So, overconfidence. And I think that overconfidence might also contain an element of uh, maybe maybe a lapse of attention. So, you're not as focused on the activity at hand and you tend to get a little bit sloppy. I think this is another reason that people get hurt. So, it's I think personal stories of things people have witnessed are a really good way that we can present this idea to people, because we have to reinforce the why. If we don't sell why it's important, then we know that people have the potential to make these types of decisions, fall into these types of um, you know these these types of behaviors and these trends, and they're very, very preventable. So, let's keep in mind that the good workers do make bad decisions for a variety of reasons. I named four. I know there are a whole bunch more, but think about that. And, as you're reinforcing the importance of making sure that you're paying attention and making good decisions, I think all these things are useful in kind of making that sale with the workforce. So hopefully that's helpful, and we'll see you next Wednesday.